Welcome to the Senior Safety Advice Podcast, your trusted source for expert guidance on aging safely and independently. Whether you're a caregiver, a family member, or a senior looking to stay secure at home and beyond, we've got you covered. From fall prevention and home modifications to financial safety and scam awareness, we provide practical tips to help you or your loved ones live with confidence. Tune in and empower yourself with the knowledge you need to navigate the challenges of aging. Let's make safety simple.
Hello everyone, this is Esther Kane. Welcome back to episode 17, the Senior Safety Advice Podcast. As I said, I'm your host, Esther Kane. I am a retired occupational therapist, certified aging in place specialist, and a certified dementia care specialist. I spent many years working with all kinds of head injury type of disorders in geriatrics, and that includes dementia and Alzheimer's. So I have a lot of stories and a lot of experience in that field. And I'm saying that because today's episode is on caring for seniors with dementia. And this is aimed towards family caregivers who are caring for someone in their home or even in the person's home. And the reason I wanted to emphasize that is because caring for someone with dementia in a home setting is very different from caring for that type of person with that disease in a hospital setting or nursing home, memory care unit, any place like that, any facility like that. So if you are caring for someone with dementia, this episode will hopefully give you some tips on how you can make your life a little easier and their life a little easier. If you are just beginning that journey, then this is definitely a good podcast for you because I think you're going to learn a lot. At least I hope so. You can let me know in the comments. And of course, subscribe to our podcast. We are just starting this. This is just episode 17, so we're very excited to share the information that we have. And of course, visit our website at seniorsafetyadvice.com. We have just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles on all kinds of topics as far as aging in place, living safely as an older adult, and then information for family caregivers of older parents or loved ones. All right, the very first thing, if you're just beginning this process of caring for a loved one with dementia, it's important really to understand what it is. Is it just one specific thing? And the truth is it's not. Dementia is not a specific disease. It's a conglomeration of all kinds of diseases. And I suspect that as medicine progresses more and more, hopefully we will be able to identify specific different types of dementia. I mean, we're already identifying several different kinds, frontal lobe dementia, which you're already hearing in the news because of certain, I can't think of the actor's name, but actually there's two famous people that have frontal lobe dementia, but they're beginning to understand the differences of what part of the brain is affected and then how that will come out in symptoms for that particular person. Alzheimer's is also another form of dementia, and that has its own set of symptoms as well. But generally speaking, they all fall obviously under a severe cognitive decline affecting all kinds, everything from mental, psychological to physical. So some of the most common symptoms of dementia, you may already know, are memory loss, difficulty with problem solving, difficulty with complex tasks, problems with visual perception, issues with speaking or writing, disorientation and confusion, mood and behavior changes simply because of all that I mentioned above. I want to go a little bit deeper into each one of these. Memory loss is probably the most common. A lot of people will say, oh, I can't remember this or that. I must be getting dementia. That's not necessarily true, but memory loss is certainly one. And what is a good indicator that it's memory loss related to dementia is when the person, not only can they not remember an event or an appointment, anything like that, but they cannot remember that they're married, or they cannot remember that this is their child, or they cannot remember that they have to eat breakfast, or that they, or how to drive, or, where to go to drive while they're driving. That type of memory loss is what's indicative of some form of dementia. Difficulty with problem solving is just trying to figure out how to do your taxes, how to put together something that you got from a store, an Amazon. It could be a simple shelf. It could be anything at all. Problem solving, figuring out how to solve an issue. It could be a simple 3-step issue, but they simply are having problems with it. Can't write a check anymore. Having problems figuring out how to read a statement from a bank. Complex tasks are not necessarily what you may think. You may think a complex task is like solving a math problem or putting together an engine, but it could be as very simple as putting 2 tasks together. When you and I sit down to eat, we do multiple tasks. We pull the chair out, then we sit down, we pull the chair in, we put the napkin on our lap, we pick up a fork, we put the fork in the food, and we put that in our mouth. That's a series of tasks. Someone with dementia is not going to be able to, depending on the stage of dementia, of course, but not going to be able to do all those tasks. They'll start maybe, they could do 3. They could pull out the chair, sit and pull the chair back, and then they have to take a minute or sit back and be told what to do next. They may be able to pick up the fork, but not remember to put it in the food. They're just holding the fork. So doing a series of tasks is very difficult for them, as simple as it seems like to you and me. So when you're speaking to someone with dementia, when you give them a task, something to do, make sure to keep it as simple as possible. But be careful, because in the early stages of dementia, that person may realize that you're doing that and be offended. So there's a fine line. You have to figure out what will work and what won't. And of course, what works on one day may not work 2 months later. So don't be surprised if there's going to be moments of agitation, anger, whatever, because obviously they know that things are getting more difficult for them. And depending on their previous ability to deal with change in their life, if they've always had a difficult time with change in their life, they're going to have a very difficult time here. So be prepared for that. Realize it's not aimed at you. It's not anger towards you. It's anger at the disease. They're angry about what's happening to them. They don't understand it. It's confusing. It's frightening. So try to be patient and understanding with that. Okay. Visual perception, that really shows up a lot in when they're performing daily tasks. You'll notice if there is a white crayon, if you're doing crafts, and there's a white crayon, maybe it doesn't have the wrapping on it any longer, and the white crayon is sitting on a white tablecloth, they may not be able to see that white crayon. They can't tell that they're the white on white. So you never want to have a white plate on top of a white tablecloth. You want to have contrasting colors that they can understand that there's something. They may not know it's a plate, but they know that there's something on top of something else. It can also show up if the sun is coming through the window and it creates a shadow on the wall, on the floor. They may look at that shadow and they think it's a hole. So they may try to scoot around that hole or try to step over it, which is not usually a big deal for you and me, but if they're using a walker, if their balance is not very good, which can easily happen with dementia, it may cause them to fall and over something that there is no hole. It's just a shadow on the floor. So you we'll have to keep an eye on how they may be perceiving their environment. Now, obviously speaking, writing, reading is going to become more and more difficult for them. And then, of course, disorientation and confusion, as I said. Now, one of the things that I would strongly recommend is to realize that this disease is progressive. There's no cure for it at the moment. Hopefully there will be at some point, but at this point there isn't. So it's really more like palliative care. You're just trying to keep that person safe and comfortable. But knowing that it's going to progress and get worse can help you to prepare for things getting worse. So you may want to think about modifying the environment to keep it as safe as possible. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But you also want to think about getting help, or what kind of help you could get, or at least looking into where you could start getting help, because it's so important to not do everything yourself. Caregiving burnout is extremely common among family caregivers, and it can wreck your marriage, your relationships, and your health. So I encourage you to seek out where can you get help. It can be professional help that you buy, you pay for. It can be help you get from your friends, from other family members, from your church, wherever. Start looking, start asking, and start preparing for that, because you may not need it now, but you will need it in the future. And for heaven's sakes, look for a support group. So much help you can get from a support group. You can just be talking to people who have gone through what you're going through or going to go through, or they're going through it with you. You can get some amazing ideas and referrals and references from these people. On top of that, you get a great support. A lot of hospitals, some churches do offer, community centers do offer groups for dementia care, caregivers. All right, so one of the first things you can do to make an environment safe, to make the home safe, is to, almost like making it like aging in place. You're following the same rules as you would for aging in place type of things. You're going to remove tripping hazards like loose rugs or clutter, or, cords that may be attached to the TV or radio or floor lamp. You want to install handrails and grab bars in bathrooms and on stairs. You want to ensure that there's good lighting throughout the house. You want to try to remove, glare and shadows throughout the house. And you want to secure potentially dangerous things like medications and cleaning supplies and sharp objects. And most important, you want to consider installing locks on exit doors to prevent wandering. That's a very common issue, although I know nowadays you can put a watch, although they could take off the watch, but you can try to fasten some type of a GPS tracker on them that hopefully they will not take off, so that you can at least track them in case they do wander. I would encourage you to get an occupational therapist or an aging in place specialist to come in and give you a home safety assessment, and they can help you to make a list, at least, of the types of things that you should be looking at to make changes in your home, because you may not be able to make all the changes at once. The second thing is to establish routines. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, a lot of this sounds like the kind of things you do when you have a young child. And yes, that is true. It is very similar to a lot of those kinds of rules that you should follow when you have a young child. But you have to remember that dementia is basically bringing that person back to a childlike state. Complete with tantrums and everything. So you want to, of course, we're not going to be treating them as children. These are grown adults, but you want to keep them safe and comfortable, obviously. All right, so routines. You want to stick to a regular daily schedule for meals, activities, bedtime, It could be every Tuesday or every day from 9 to 10, you're going to do crafts at the kitchen table. From 12 to 1, you have lunch and you watch, whatever, soap opera, whatever, I don't know, whatever. From 3 to 4, you take a walk outside in the park, or 4 to 5, they help you make dinner. Anything, any kind of routine, you want to establish that routine. And that will help you as well, because then if you can then put into that routine a caregiver, some respite care, somebody to come in and take over so that you can get to the grocery store. You can take a break, go to the movies, spend some time with your friends. You have that routine. You know that it's going to happen every Tuesday and Friday, whatever. And then whoever you're caring for, your aging parent or loved one with dementia, they will become hopefully familiar with that caregiver as well. You want to keep familiar objects and photographs around to help orient that person so that they can, feel more comfortable about these faces that they recognize. Of course, it will get to a point where they won't be able to recognize them, but until then, it's important to keep those familiar objects and photographs around. And most importantly, you want to involve them in daily activities. Simple things like folding laundry, setting the table, cutting up the potatoes, anything that can give them a sense of purpose, working out in the garden, anything that they can continue to still do. Obviously, that will change as the disease progresses, but it's much more difficult to just plop them in front, on the sofa in front of the TV. They get restless, they get tired, they get bored, and then that's when a lot of the mood changes, behavior changes come about. So everyone wants to have a sense of purpose, no matter what, for as long as they possibly can. Communication. That is one of the most difficult things for family caregivers to do with someone with dementia. I can't tell you how many families I had to counsel, to speak with, to advise on, to how to speak to someone with dementia. First, you do not want to correct them. If they tell you that their mother is coming to pick them up at 4 o'clock, you don't say your mother is dead. She's not coming. There's nobody coming at 4 o'clock to pick you up. You don't want to do that, because in their mind, they are waiting for their mother. And for whatever reason, they're thinking about their mother. So the strategy here is to ask them questions about their mother. What was your mother like? What kind of cookies did she like? Oh, maybe we should make those cookies. Let's do that. And you gently redirect them to another thought, an activity to take them away from, my mother's coming to pick me up at 4 o'clock. Because if you continue arguing with them about the reality of the situation, they don't understand it. They don't know it. They don't comprehend it. And all you're going to get is an argument. And sometimes a lot worse. I've seen a lot of fighting sessions between aging parents and their families over silly things like that. So you want to make sure not to do that. You also want to speak clearly and slowly, using simple words and short sentences. You can't say, Mom, can you get the knife out of that drawer and then take the radishes out of the refrigerator and cut them up for the salad? That's too many things. That's too many tasks. It's too complex of a task. Obviously, depending on the level of dementia they are at, but it's often too many things. So you want to say one thing at a time. Mom, can you get the knife out of that drawer? And she'll get the knife out of that drawer and probably walk back to the counter. You say, oh, that's really great, but you know what? I forgot. We need the radishes too. Can you get the radishes out of the refrigerator and break down the comment? I know it's going to take a while of practice to do that, but if you can speak in simple words and short sentences and not make a string of tasks in one sentence, it will be much easier, because she will then become frustrated and storm out and be angry, and then you have to deal with that. So definitely be patient and give your loved one time to respond. Just because you said something to them doesn't mean that they comprehend it and can process it quickly. It may take them 2, 3, 4 minutes before they can respond back to you. So give them time. Don't say, well. I remember one family member, daughter who did that. She kept doing that to her mother. Well. Like, let her think about it. Give her a minute. Give her 4 minutes. Give her time. And then eventually she would respond, but usually in a very angry tone because the daughter was constantly hounding her. So you can use for some, it's helpful to have visual cues and gestures to help convey a message. Obviously, the tone of your voice also conveys messages, but visual cues and gestures can certainly help. And maintain eye contact. And obviously, you don't have to be right in front of them at all times. So especially if they have hearing problem, you want to look at them and speak to them, and then they are then focused on you. And then just having that focus without having distractions around them can help them to process the information a little faster. I know it's not easy, and I know it takes a lot of practice, but knowing that this is how you should be communicating with someone with dementia hopefully can help you through that process and avoid a lot of unnecessary drama. So how do you manage these behavioral changes that will inevitably come up? I mean, as dementia progresses, you're going to notice changes in their behavior. They might become agitated, anxious, aggressive. So here's how to handle some of these. Some patients even become very, very teary-eyed. My mother did that. I mean, she would just cry over everything. And it took a while to calm her down. So first, you want to try and identify what triggered this, what happened. If you can even identify it, you may not be able to. But if you can, if you know that a particular commercial comes on, it triggers a response. If you know that asking them too many tasks at once triggers the response, or anything, try to identify what it is so you can obviously avoid it in the future. Obviously remain calm and reassuring, even though they may be screaming or yelling or ranting or throwing things or whatever. You want to remain calm, and you want to try your best to redirect their attention to something different. Perhaps they got angry that they dropped the bag of chocolate chips while they were making the chocolate chip cookies, or, they couldn't pour the bag directly into the bowl. Half got in the bowl, half got on the counter. Maybe they got angry at themselves for that. Just redirect, say, oh, that is not a big deal. I do that all the time. Let me tell you. And then you can maybe tell them a story about their granddaughter or grandson that did something silly or ridiculous. Anything that you can do to redirect them from thinking that way or being angry or annoyed, whatever. Anything that you can do. Make sure that they're not going hungry, that they're not thirsty, that they, are using the bathroom on a regular schedule, because they may not remember to eat or to drink or to go to the bathroom. So again, having them on a schedule is extremely important. And they may be in pain or discomfort. Maybe their neck is hurting, their back is hurting, their shoulder. I mean, I'm a senior myself, and there's just constant aches and pains every day. You're like, oh, this hurts. Oh, that hurts. So you want to try to identify. They may not be able to tell you, and even if you ask them, they may not be able to. They'll just say yes or no, but not really be able to identify. They just know they're uncomfortable. So if they have a history of a specific thing, a knee injury or back pain or whatever, try to give them whatever it is that they may need, a cold pack, a hot pack, whatever it is that they used to use previously to take care of that. Personal care is a delicate issue because a lot of older parents, of course, are very embarrassed about being taken care of by their children. I know my mother certainly was. And assisting someone with personal care is difficult, of course, also for the grown children. So a lot of families do hire someone to bathe their loved one, but there's toileting that needs to get done throughout the day, so that's an issue that many family caregivers have to tend to. So you want to maintain their dignity by trying your best to involve them in any care decisions when possible, if they're capable of doing that. You need to be patient and allow extra time for tasks. It may take you and I 3 minutes to do our entire teeth brushing, flossing, whatever, routine, but it may take them 10, 15 minutes. So you have to allot for that time. You want to give, again, very simple step-by-step instructions, one step at a time, for things like bathing, dressing, undressing. And if possible, if they're capable, you want to offer them 2 options. Do you want to wear this dress, or these pants or these pants? If they're capable of making that selection, if that isn't a trigger that sends them into a rage or anything like that. I've seen that happen. So if not, then you just want to present the items there on the bed, and that's what they're going to wear. And for some, that makes it much easier. But the point is, especially at the beginning, you want to give them as much autonomy as possible, as much decision-making process as possible. Even if the decision is wrong, you don't have to obviously follow through with it. Hopefully they won't remember that they made that decision, so they won't be angry about it, but at least give them the consideration of feeling as if they are involved in the process. Nutrition and hydration is an issue mostly with older adults with dementia who are living alone. So if they're for family caregivers, it's not so much an issue unless, of course, the family is not truly caring for that person. But you want to obviously serve meals at regular times. You want to do it in a calm environment. So you can have soft music playing in the background if you want. But having the TV on with, some kind of a movie or bang bang type of action flick may be disturbing, may be disorienting, and it may be too much to process for them. Finger foods are excellent if they can no longer figure out how to use utensils. You want to make sure, of course, that the food is at a safe temperature and that it, not so small that you want to prevent any kind of choking, because they may not realize that they have to chew a lot. They may just take the tater tot, put it in their mouth, and just try to swallow the whole thing. So you want to make sure that it's that they can figure out how to eat it. But if you notice that they cannot, then you have to begin altering the texture of the food, make it smaller, very much like you would for a child. And of course, you always want to encourage fluid intake, because UTIs are very common amongst patients with dementia because, one, they tend not to clean themselves as well as they used to, and they don't drink enough. And that's not even true with dementia. It's just true with getting older. A lot of older adults tend to not drink as much water throughout the day as they should. And it doesn't have to be water. It could be tea, juice, but, just have liquids inside of you. And there could be ice pops too, watermelon, strawberries, anything that provides fluid nutrition. They have these jelly drops that are excellent. They are like little balls of jello, but they have special hydration in them, there's special something in them that increases the hydration level. I think it's electrolytes. I'm honestly not sure, but you can take a look at them, jelly drops. I'll have a link to it on the show notes and also in the YouTube video description for jelly drops. Okay, activities and engagement. You want to keep them obviously engaged. So obviously that improves their quality of life and gives them activities to participate in. And it could be anything, whatever they can do, simple puzzles or games, listening to music, singing, looking at photo albums, gentle exercises, walks, Sensory activities like sorting objects, folding laundry, anything like that. Even if it's something that they did the day before, if they're at a stage where they have no awareness, no recall, memory at all, they can do that same thing day after day after day. So obviously, if it's something that they can do to contribute to the household, like folding laundry, sorting out all the screws in the toolbox and anything like that, just be very careful that they are not at the stage where they begin putting those kinds of things in their mouth. You want to make sure that they don't swallow a screw or nail or anything like that. That is, of course, in the later stages, but you want to make sure that they don't do that. All right. Taking care of yourself. This is the most important aspect because so many family caregivers simply do not take care of themselves, either out of guilt or just personality or I don't know, but you cannot help that loved one if you don't help yourself. So it's extremely crucial for caregivers. So 1, take regular breaks. Even if it's just 30 minutes, take a regular break. Try to establish a nap time every afternoon, morning, afternoon, whatever. Have an alarm by that person's bed so if they do get up, you can get alerted on your phone or the alarm system. You want to join a support group. It's so imperative. I cannot stress enough how important that is, even if it's online. If you live in a rural area and you just don't have that in your immediate area, you just can't get to it. Accept help and ask for help from family, friends, your poker club, your church, anywhere. Ask for help and accept it. People want to help you. They just don't know how. So give everyone an assignment. Consider respite care options where you can give yourself a longer break. So this is something like an overnight kind of thing where you can get away for a little while. And this is usually a professional caregiver that you hire through a home health agency. And you definitely want to maintain your own health. You want to get your regular checkups. Don't skip them. You want to eat well, probably better than you ever did. You want to exercise. You want to properly care for yourself because you're going to need more energy than you ever thought you could muster to continue caring for this loved one that you obviously love very much, and you want them to be safe and as healthy as possible for as long as possible. So that's the goal, but you can only achieve that goal if you have it yourself to give. If you don't, then you're just dipping into an empty cup. All right, so when should you seek additional help? I say at the very beginning. As soon as you get the diagnosis of dementia, then you begin looking for where you could ask for help. You begin letting your friends know, your family know, all organizations, anything that you belong to, any community resources. You begin looking for that help. But a lot of people wait till they're completely burnt out. They are overwhelmed. They have become sick themselves, or the person is just, they can't manage them anymore. The level of care that they need is much more than the family caregiver can provide, especially if the family caregiver is caring for children and her own family, and other issues, is working full time. There's so many issues in our lives that can interfere with properly caring for someone with dementia. So don't wait until you notice a decline in your own physical and mental health, and don't wait till your loved one's behavior or symptoms become so bad that it ends up destroying you and your life in some way. It could cause you to lose your job. It could cost you your relationship with a loved one. You don't want to wait for that. So you want to plan at the beginning as soon as possible. Seeking help is not a sign of failure. It doesn't mean you're not a good caregiver. It's a responsible and the right decision that benefits both of you. All right, so caring for someone with dementia at home is challenging, but rewarding. It's an adventure for sure. There are going to be some rewarding moments, but I can tell you from decades of dealing with this issue is that it's mostly challenging. So be prepared for that. Understand that. Knowing how the disease works. Look for, there's so many wonderful movies about dementia. There's so many wonderful, wonderful books about dementia. I'll list some of them again in the show notes and in the description on YouTube, so you can begin taking a look and seeing what it looks like for each and every single person. Everyone is different. So I encourage you to seek out the help of an occupational therapist or an aging in place specialist to help you set up your home, to see, to make it as safe as possible for your loved one. I encourage you to speak to a geriatric care manager to talk about the possibility of, down the road when a situation gets impossible for you to care for this person, where can they go? What is available in your community, in your area? And of course, speak to the doctor. They may have resources and insights, the care manager, social workers, that they can help you as well with any issues. But ask for help, because if you don't, you're just going to be lost. You're going to be stressed, and you're going to be stressed, and they're going to be stressed, and you're not taking care of them as well as I know you want to. All right. I do hope you found the information in this podcast helpful and useful. I know the holidays are coming up soon, so if you are caring for someone with dementia during this holiday season, I hope this info can help you through that. I know that the holidays can be stressful just by themselves without having to deal with all of this. So again, please subscribe to our podcast and our YouTube channel, and I so look forward to hearing from you and to our next podcast. Thank you so much. Take care.
That's it for today's episode of the Senior Safety Advice Podcast, helping you and your loved ones stay safe, independent, and informed. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and share it with others who could benefit. For more expert tips and resources, visit seniorsafetyadvice.com. And remember, staying safe starts with staying informed. Until next time, take care and stay safe.